We'll be looking at Nginx in this session. So what is Nginx? Nginx is a web server that acts as a proxy to the app servers. It allows visitors to gain access to the resources that will typically be on the app server without directly accessing the app server. So to manage the traffic coming from the visitors, Nginx acts as load balancer, directing traffic to a particular Tomcat server depending on the available resources. Now, we should also understand something, that there are three load balancing methods. The first one is the round robin, the second one is the least connections, and the third one is the IP hash. Now, the round robin is the default method. It allows for even distribution of load across servers. For example, where you have 4 app servers, right? The round robin allows distribution of traffic as it's coming from the users, gets into Nginx, then it distributes it equally to the different app servers, right? So that is the default method. That's the round robin. Another method is the least connections. For the least connections, what it does is that it looks at the server that has the lowest amount of activity and it decides to route traffic there. And that continues in that order. So the one with the least amount of traffic, least amount of activities gets the traffic, right? So that's called the least connections. And finally, we have the IP hash. The IP hash allows for traffic from a certain location to be directed to a particular app server. It is location or IP based, IP address based. For example, you can have the traffic of people in the US going to a particular app server. You can have the traffic of people in Canada going to a particular app server. You can have the traffic of people in Africa going to a particular app server. And that's IP hash, right? Now, one other thing we need to note is that when you look at Nginx, it has the option for managing traffic, right? You can decide to set an option when the system is down or you want to do an upgrade. You can set an option. We'll look at this. And also, we can even configure the system such that more traffic is routed to a particular server, depending on the capacity of the server, right? When we say capacity, we are talking about the memory of the server. So where you have a 32 gig memory for a server, for example, and you have another server that is 4 gig memory. So you are looking at 8 times, right? About 8 times capacity, right? So in that case, you can decide to set it up to reflect the weight of that server, such that more traffic is routed to that app server. So let's get started with the whole configuration and okay, let me see what we have here. We have the Maven server. Let's see what we need. For Nginx, we'll need a server of its own, right? Where we can install the necessary apps. We'll also need, and we need to set that on port 80. We need to open port 80 for Nginx. Then for the purpose of this session, we'll be launching 3 Tomcat instances and setting them up so that we can, let's see what we have here, so that we can deploy this web application and see how it all works, right? So let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is to launch an AWS server. Let's see. For Nginx, let's launch an AWS server. Let's call this Nginx. I want to launch a Red Hat server. I want to set free tier eligible. T2 micro will work for Nginx. I want to use my existing key pair. I want to set up port 80. Port 80. Okay. I think that's about all. So I want to copy the IP address. Let's set up here on mobile extend. Okay. Let's use my private key. Okay. I guess it's still synchronizing. We're too fast. Let's see what we are. Okay, it's still initializing. While it's initializing, we'll also need to launch. We'll get back to that. Hopefully. Okay, let's launch the Tomcat servers. Tomcat. Let's see. And launch 2 instances for Tomcat. I want to Red Hat server. Free eligible. So I want to launch 3 of those servers. I'm using the same key. Okay. So I want to open port 8080. and open port 8080. So 3 instances. Okay. Let's verify this. Okay. So let's see if this is done initializing Nginx. Or still initializing. So let's see what we have here. And call this App Server 1. And call this App Server 2. And call this App Server 3. Okay. Okay. Still initializing. So while we are at that, let me rename. Okay, this is my Maven. Let me rename the tab. Okay. Still. Okay, this is up. So this is my Nginx. Let me rename this as well. Nginx. Okay. So I want to I have Maven, I have Nginx. Okay, let's see whether the Tomcat servers are ready. Okay, those ones are still initializing. Or we can, okay, while they are initializing, let's go ahead to Nginx and try to get some things up. So the first thing we want to do, we've done, right? We've set up the AWS account instance, right? So for that, and we've opened port 80. So we've also done same for the Tomcat App Servers. They are still initializing. So the next thing we want to do is to install Nginx. We'll be using a script to make it faster. You can say install _ Nginx.sh. It's a bash shell script. So I want to go to insert mode. Let's pick up the script. So okay, so let's run through the script. Then in file. So let's run through the script. So the first thing we'll be doing is to install the EPEL repository. Then we'll install the Nginx open source. Then we'll enable Nginx. Then we'll start Nginx. We'll check the status. Then we'll move the configuration file, right? We want to create a backup for that, which we'll do here. Then we'll switch to root. Okay, so those are basically the simple tasks we'll be running. So we want to sh, let's run the script. Okay, so we want to continue with the installation. We have a new server. So let's see what we get. So while we are on that, let's look at what we have over there. Let's see. Okay. Let's see whether the instances. Oh, they are all ready. So let's quickly set this up while the installation is going on. So let's start from here. Let's pick this. So we want to pick this. That's a public IP address. So let's set it up on mobile extend. New session. New. Let's set this up. Specify username. C2-user. Okay. Let's use private key. Okay. So we have the Tomcat App Server 1. App Server 1. So let's get the others going. So let's call this App Server 2. Let's get App Server 2. C2-user. Let's use the key. So let's call this App Server 2. And let's have the third App Server. Let's get the third one. App Server 3. Okay. So let's get Tomcat installed on these app servers. Okay, let's call this App Server 3. Okay, so we're consistent. app server tree. Okay. So while we are at that, let's quickly install Tomcat here as well. If we have a script for that too. So let's get a script for that. Tomcat installation. So let's get this done. Install tomcat.sh. Okay. So I want to install Tomcat on the 3 app servers. Once enter one. Okay, let me go to second app server. Okay. Okay, so let's install for the third one. Okay. So we're installing for the third app server. Yes. Okay, so let's see what we have. This completed. Okay. Oh, I didn't enter one. I entered one. Okay. So this is ongoing. Let's see Nginx. So let's scroll down. Okay. Renaming. Okay, switched. Okay. Let's get going. So what do we have? Okay. So we have the installations done. So what's the next thing we want to do? We want to deploy. We want to deploy from Maven to the 3 Tomcat servers that we have. Okay, so what do we have here? Maven. Okay, let's see what we are deploying. ls. Okay, so this is what we want to deploy to the 3 app servers. So, okay, installation is still ongoing with this. Okay, this is completed. This is completed, and this is also completed. So we've completed the installation for all 4, right? So what do we want to do now? We want to do a transfer. We want to do the deployment. So this is going to be a server-to-server transfer. Okay, so we use the scp command. I want to use my PEM key. I want to be sure my PEM key is located right where I am, right? You can see it here. I already transferred it before now. So I want to use the PEM key. I say adimola.pem, right? .pem. I want to specify the file that I'm transferring. So that's the file. Transferring it to ec2-user. ec2-user. Okay, that lives at what public IP address? Let me pick it up here. What public IP address? I want to pick the public IP address. So this, let me start with Tomcat server 1. I'll pick this address. I want it to go to web/opt/tomcat9/web apps, right? So that's where I want to have it. Okay. I want to say yes to that. Okay, it's gone, deployed. So let me run the same command and just change the IP address for the second server. For the second app server, I want to copy the IP address. So I just want to replace that. So this is the second server. I want to say yes to that. It's gone. So let me check out the third one. So I just want to change the IP address for the third one. And we'll copy it. So this is a public IP address for the third one. Tomcat App Server 3. So just want to paste that here and say yes to that. So I believe we are done with Maven. So let's look at our next steps. Right now, we want to go to Nginx. We want to make sure we go to a file called nginx.config. We had renamed that file, but we want to VI into that file and put in some components into that file because we backed it up because we wanted to have a different composition inserted in it. So the file name is, let's VI into a file called nginx.conf, and it's in the nginx directory located within the /etc directory. So this is it. So if you are into it, I want to go to insert mode. Then I'll copy the component that is required to be in it, right? I'll share this as part of the notes in the video at the bottom of the video, right? So what I have here, I want to let's take note of this comment here, right? The comment here is to replace these numbers with your Tomcat IP address. Depending on the number of servers you have, append more lines. So right now we have just one line. Okay, so because IP address changes, public IP address changes every time we restart the server, I want to make sure I put my private IP addresses here for all the servers. So what I'll be doing is, since I have 3 Tomcat servers, I want to get a triplicate, right? I want to make, okay, server here. Okay, let me just take this out. Server. Okay, this is what we had, server, right? But to play safe, this is what I'll do. I'll escape without saving. I'll escape without saving. Then open the file again, just to be safe, right? Then I want to come here and copy it afresh so that we don't want to make mistakes, right? Let me copy it afresh. Insert. Okay, so I want to copy this. Put this here. Okay. So I want to replace what we have here, this 0000, right? I want to replace it with the private IP addresses of each of those servers, Tomcat servers that we have created and deployed to. So I want to do this, right? I want to do this. So let's go copy the private IP addresses. So let's start with the third one, app server 3. Copy that. So let's start with the third one. Okay. So let's go for the next one. Let's go for the next one. So app server 1. Let's copy the private IP address. And paste that here. And let's get for the second one. App server 2. Okay, so we have all the private IP addresses for the 3 servers. So now we can save this. Okay. So what else do we want to do? Let's clear this. So what else do we want to do? We've copied and we've modified the content of the nginx.conf file. Now we want to run system restart Nginx to restart Nginx after doing this. After modifying that file, we need to do a system restart Nginx to make it work. Okay, so the systemctl. We don't need sudo because we are logged in as root. We switch user during the installation. Systemctl restart Nginx. Start Nginx. Okay, now that we've done this restart, we want to go to the web browser and enter the public IP address for Nginx. So let's get the public IP address for Nginx. Let's get the public IP address. I want to copy the public IP address. Okay. So put it here. At port 80, right? Then slash, what's the name of the web application that we deployed? Let's just confirm that. Let's check it out here. So let's cd to slash opt slash tomcat 9 slash, that's web apps. That's where we deploy to, right? So let's ls to see what we have there. So this is it. This is the name, right? So we deployed this and it came out as this. So this is the name, right? So we can go ahead and append that to the link we have out there. Now, when we run this, it is possible we get a 502 error. Okay, we got a 502 bad gateway. This indicates that the security enhanced Linux, Linux, is in force. So what we can do is to bypass it. How do we do that? So we need to go back to our Nginx server, go back to our Nginx server, and we want to bypass that 502 bad gateway error, right? We want to bypass it by running this command. We run this command, set cbool -p, uppercase P, httpd_can_network_connect, then we set it as true. Okay, so run this. When we run this, let's wait for it. Okay, it's done. So we want to run the system restart Nginx again, right? So we do that. So by the time we come here, we should see that we are up. Okay, now that we are up, what are we trying to point out? So looking at this, let's look at our AWS instances, right? Let's look at AWS instances. Let's look at the private IP addresses. Okay, yeah. Let's look at the addresses. Okay, we can even get it from, want to be able to see it at a glance. So we have, right now, we are here, right? When we checked, we are here. You can see the private IP address is 162, okay? Ends in 162. So let's see the server that it redirected to. The one ending in 162. This one is 148. This one is 162. So the first try was app server 2. So let's refresh that page again and see where it's taking it from, right? Just checking the load balancing capacity. You can see this time around it's 148, right? Let's see. I believe that's app server 1, because I think I saw 148 earlier. App server 1, right? Then let's refresh it again and see where it is pulling from. Okay, let's refresh the browser again and see where it is routing traffic to. 162 again. So that's app server 2. Let's refresh again. Okay, now 69. That's app server 3. Let's just confirm that. App server 3, right? So that's load balancing in force, right? So based on the input we have made, we see that load balancing is now in force. We've seen the first time it took us to app server 2. The second time it was app server 1. Third time it was app server 2. And last time it is app server 3. Now let us assume that we want to do an upgrade, right, of app server 2. Maybe we just want to increase, a new version of Tomcat is out. I want to install it, right? So we can do this without our server going down. All we need to do is to look for an appropriate time, right? So an appropriate time where traffic is less, then we can do this exercise by, what do we do? Let's see. So what we are going to do is that we are going to come back to Nginx, right? Let's say we want to stop app server 2, right? Ending in 162. We want to do an upgrade or get some things done, right? So we can actually come to app server 2 and set some options, right? So let's go to Nginx. When we go to Nginx, we want to go to that file. Yeah, this file, the configuration file, nginx.config, right? We want to set some options. So right now, because we want to do some upgrades, we want to set this server as down. So this server is down. Okay, let's say this server is down. We want to set it as down. Okay, now when we set this server as down, what will happen is that when we want to put 2, right? We agreed on 2. App server 2, we want to set it as down so that we can do some upgrades. So with introducing this option down, what does it do? It prevents traffic from going to that server, passing that option. It prevents traffic from going to that server. So we want to save that now. Now, anytime we do this, we want to come back here to restart Nginx. Okay, we want to restart Nginx. So when we restart Nginx, we'll go back to the browser just to ensure that it is down. We do not expect to see 162. Okay, so let's run 148. Okay, that's app server 1, app server 3, 69. Let's do again. 148, right? Let's refresh. 69, app server 3, right? So 148, 69, right? So the traffic is evenly routed. That's what we've seen there. That's round robin, right? Traffic is evenly routed. So what else do we want to do? Right now, we want to see another possible option. Let's assume that the memory capacity of app server 1 is like 8 times the memory capacity of app server 3, right? App server 1 ends in 148, app server 3 ends in 69. We might want to do something. We want to set weight, right? We want to set a weight in this configuration file. So we'll keep app server 2 as down, right? But we want to see more activities going to app server 1. So we want to set weight. We've determined that based on the memory capacity, app server 1 is 8 times. We are assuming, right? We are assuming that app server 1 is a 32 gig memory, while app server 3 has 4 gig memory. So we are talking about 8 times the capacity, right? So we want to set weight equals 8, right? And set weight as 8, and app server 2 is down. Then what we'll see is that when we refresh, we'll notice that more traffic will be coming in for app server 1. That's the one ending in 148 because of this. So let's just test it and compare to the result that we got when we add them equally distributed. So we want to save this file. Now, after saving it, I want to restart Nginx. Okay, I restart. Now let's go and see what we have. So I expect app server 1 to be prominent. That's the one ending in 148. So now I start, refresh, 148, that's the first time. Second time, 148. Third time, 148. Fourth time, 148. Fifth time, the fifth time is app server 3. So we have 4 to 1. Okay. 148, 5 to 1. 148, 6 to 1. 148, 7 to 1. 148, 8 to 1. 148, 9 to 1, 148, 10 to 1, 148, 11 to 1, 148, 12 to 1, 69, 12 to 2, right? You can see you're looking at ratio 6 to 1, right? So this goes to say that we have just been able to confirm that this exercise we did, right, by setting this weight at 8, has succeeded in driving more traffic to 148. We see that we are no longer getting any traffic for 162, and we are getting few traffic for 69, right? So that's about that for now. So we'll be discussing other subjects in subsequent sessions. If there are any questions, you can just leave a note in the comment section so I can respond to the questions. Thank you.